Okay, so now that you learned how to work the ball a little bit, let's talk about course strategy. Where do we need to have the starting line? Which way do we need to curve the ball? And where do we put the wall that I keep on talking about? And here I've had a diagram of a pretty traditional hole. Now here's the green with the pin tucked on the left. This is a sucker pin. They call it that for a reason, so don't be a sucker. You gotta definitely play away from this pin. That's what we're gonna go over next. Here's the fairway, and then to the left you'll see there's some water. So this is a pretty traditional green shape. You'll see this a lot on holes that have water on them. There's usually one side that has a bailout area and the other side has a lot of trouble. That's where they love to stick the pin to try to get people to attack that kind of pin. And it's just not a birdie hole really when they put the pin over here. Most of your birdies are going to be made on the par fives or easier holes. I'd say 70–80% of your birdies are going to be made on a small number of holes on the course. The rest of them, we want to give ourselves mid-range birdie putts and easy pars. So we want to eliminate the doubles and triples is really what we're going after. So on this hole, let's assume for now that we're in the middle of the fairway or left center fairway here. We've hit our drive right here. And now we want to hit to the green. Well, I've already mentioned we don't want to go for this sucker pin, but where do we need to lay up? Well, it depends on the distance a little bit to how far you're going to go to the right. But if we're 190, 200 yards out, we may want to go way over here to this layup area. If we're closer, let's say this is for a 150-yard shot, we can be a little bit more aggressive. Now, on the 150-yard shot, let's say we'll start it maybe 35 feet to the right of the pin, right? And let's say this is a pretty narrow green here. Tough to get it to land on the green and stop by the hole if we go all the way over here to the left. Now, for a perfect shot, I would play a draw so that when your ball ends up in its resting place at the end, it's going to be about right here. So we're going to play from here, start it toward our starting line, and then have the ball draw to the left. That'd be a perfect shot. So where does the wall need to be? I keep on mentioning this wall that we never want to cross over. Well, the wall would be just to the edge of the trouble for most scenarios. So you can imagine that the wall I don't want to cross here would be just on the edge of this water. That's why we have the wall there. If we get to where we can hit every shot on one side of the wall, we're eliminating trouble from the course. So here I've started at about 35 feet to the right. I've drawn it back maybe 15 feet, 20 feet if you're lucky, and I've left myself 15, 20 footer or so for birdie. On a hole like this, that's all you're looking for. You're looking to give yourself a chance for birdie, and if you mess up, then you're going to bail out to the right. So let's start to look at some dispersion patterns. Let's say that I hit it straight. We're going to end up over here in the right center of the green. If I hook it a little bit too much, so let's say I barely crossed my line, okay, not in trouble. I'm actually in a pretty good spot here. I'm going to have a pretty close birdie. Let's say I hook it a whole lot here and I go way farther to the left of what I wanted to do. I'm still okay. I'm still not in trouble. I would have to hook it even more than that to actually get over here in the water and get in trouble. Now let's look at the other way. So let's say I miss it to the right, which as you get better and better at this, you're probably going to get the ball to shape a certain way. So if you're trying for a draw, you're probably going to get to where you can hit a draw almost every time, but you still may miss a few to the opposite side. Now let's go ahead, curve over to the right. Same kind of shot dispersion as we had before. And now you can see why this is a good strategy. All of these misses, all these mishits, and only one of them is really in trouble. The rest of them are over here on a very easy spot to get up and down or an easy spot to putt from. Maybe a little bit longer putt than you want, but hey, it's an easy par, just a 2 putt up to the pin. Now let's imagine that I took this same diagram and I shifted it right toward the pin. Well, half of these shots would be in the water on my mishits, and then the other half would be on the green. Well, the ones that are 30, 40, 50 feet away on the green really aren't going to do you much different than being on the edge of the fringe or any of this over here. You're probably going to make par most of the time anyways, but the ones in the water are really going to hurt. So that's why we need to play away from trouble and then work the ball back in. So now let's go over a ground view of this so you can get a more of a on-course perspective of how this would work and what we're going to visualize when we're using this wall. Okay, so now we're at an eye-level view. Sort of, maybe not the best artist in the world, but hope you get what I'm going for here. Exact same layout. Here's the fairway, bailout area to the right, and water to the left. So this is what we would be seeing from the fairway. Now, again, if I want to play pretty conservative shot. I'm about 150 yards out or so. I'm going to aim about 35, 40 feet to the right of the pin, somewhere around in there. It depends on how you're feeling that day. And if I hit a perfect shot, I'm going to draw it back here to where this is nice and safe. So my shot's going to fly from the center of the fairway. It's going to fly up through the fairway toward the middle of the green, and then I'm going to draw it back. So I'm going to leave myself about a 15 to 20 footer or so for par. Now that's a nice conservative shot. Again, you're not going to make your birdies on holes like this. You may birdie a hole like this, but not enough birdies to where it's really going to make a difference in the round. PGA Tour players don't make as many birdies as you think. They're not going out and birdieing 8, 9, 10 times around. They're usually birdieing 4 or 5 times around, something like that, but they're minimizing their bogeys. They're definitely minimizing their doubles or triple bogeys. So here we're going to play a little bit of draw, and the wall, this would be the area, this would be the line that you would not cross. It's a great visual for psychological reasons as you're playing. The way I would visualize this wall if I was here playing, I would imagine here's the edge of the wall, and then it's coming back toward me. There's the other side of the wall. Again, not the best artist in the world, but I hope you get what I'm going for here. This wall is going to block out all the left side. So now you can see why that wall is important here. It's going to be blocking out all of the trouble. So now all I'm visualizing is all this nice green space over here to the right where I can make par or birdie if I'm lucky. But I'm definitely going to make a lot of pars, and I'm blocking out all this bad stuff that I don't want to see, and that's the line I never want to cross. If I don't cross this line, it's going to be all birdies and pars and maybe the occasional bogey every once in a while, but few and far between. If I start crossing over this line, then I'm going to get in trouble. I go long in the water, short in the water, left in the water. It's bad news. So again, let me go ahead and map out a couple of those shots. Even if I miss a little bit too far to the left, I'm going to be in great shape. If I start to miss to the right, right center of the green, no problem. Just off the right edge of the green, that's no problem too. I'm going to be making a lot of pars and a lot of birdies. Now you can see from this angle, if I start to aim toward the pin, anything to the left is going to be in the water. I'm going to be making tons of double bogeys. So save your aggressive shots for the easier holes. Holes where you're inside 100 yards and you can go for the pin. Par 5s where you can get up close to the green. It can make a big difference. If you play this hole 100 times, you're not going to birdie this hole enough times for it to really matter. So play the conservative shot, be aggressive to conservative spots, use the wall to help block out some of the negative images that you have, and then wait for those good holes, the ones that are short, sweet, and wide open so you can knock down the pins. Okay, so today I'm going to use one more example. Now we found ourselves in the middle of the fairway again. There's water to the left of the green, the pin's tucked on the left side, but now we're only 80 yards out. Now where should I go on this green to maximize my birdie opportunities and to minimize my bogeys, or worse? Well, it may not be what you're thinking. I'm going to tell you to go right at this pin. Knock this pin down, right? We're only 80 yards away. Even though there's water left, what are the odds of me missing 30 and 40 yards to the left, or 20 yards to the left? Let's say this is 20 yards to the left of the pin. If I'm feeling good, I'm going to knock this pin down. Now maybe if you're hitting the ball terrible, the worst you have in your life, you may aim a little farther to the right. But for the most part, I'm going to be aggressive with this pin. So course management is not always about being conservative. It's about knowing when to be conservative and knowing when to be aggressive. So here, I would recommend aiming a few yards, 2 or 3 yards to the right of the target or the left of the target. Doesn't really matter in this particular example. And then I would knock this pin down. My ball would be coming right in on top of that thing. I would still use the wall to help you visualize a good shot and to block out some negative thoughts. So I would still put the wall over here on the left side, and I would use that visually to help me map and frame in this hole and kind of eliminate this left side. So I would still be picturing that wall right there that I don't want to cross. I'd just be throwing in my lob wedge now a couple feet to the right of the pin or to the left of the pin, and either drawing it or fading it, whichever I felt more comfortable with. This is an example of a draw. The wall would be on the right if I was going to go for a fade, but either way that's fine. You're close enough here to be aggressive. So know when to pick your battles. Go aggressive toward the holes where it's going to make a difference. I can knock it close enough from 80 yards to make a difference and make a birdie. If I'm 150 yards out to a sucker pin, probably not going to birdie enough of those to really matter that much. I think around 70% of your birdies, 80% of your birdies happen from within 120 yards. So be aggressive to conservative spots, pick your battles, and you'll definitely start shooting some better scores today. So now that you learned a little bit more about course management, it's time to learn the shots. Learn how to hit a draw, learn how to hit a fade so that you can manage the course to the best of your abilities. Don't be like this guy. Click here.